Okay, I think we have everyone here now, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. Before we get started though, I want to remind all our BAT members about our Mafia event next Wednesday. We sent the link out today if you guys can go register for that if you're gonna make it to that one. And then I'm gonna pass it over to Maurice. She's here from Becker CPA to talk to you all.
All right, thanks, Kelly. Can somebody tell me if you can hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, terrific. So thanks for joining me. I appreciate you all taking some time out of your busy schedule to join us tonight. What I wanted to do is go over some information about the CPA exam that I hope you all will find helpful. And so let me just start sharing my screen because I'm going to be using, let me do this. Oops, hold on one second here. Make sure I did this right. I did. There we go. All right. All right, so can everybody see my screen? If somebody will come off mute and let me know.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, terrific. So, all right, let me do this. I'm going to be using something called Glisser. And so if you would, I'm going to put this up and there will be a code for you to join. And that way, when the presentation's over, I can send you some New Mexico specific page. And then also I'll send you some information from the candidate handbook. So you just go to glisser.live, UNM, April, and you can get signed up there. And then, like I said, that way we will be able to go ahead and have you answer some questions. And then also I'll have your information to send you some information that hopefully you will find helpful. And if somebody could watch the chat for me, that way if there's any questions, then we can answer those as we go. I'm just trying to see if this is going to work. Sometimes it's a little bit iffy. Okay, so contact information. If you'll just go ahead and fill that out, I would appreciate it. I will introduce myself. My name is Larisse Reed. I'm a senior account manager with Becker. I am based in Arizona in Chandler, but this evening I happen to be in El Paso because I have a presentation here tomorrow. So I'm happy to be here with you. I have worked for Becker for a long time, and really this is the best part of my job is getting to talk to accounting students who are interested in the CPA, giving them some information that they need, and hopefully will find helpful wherever you are in your journey towards a CPA. Feel free and ask any questions as we go. If you want to take yourself off mute, that's fine. If you want to type it in the chat, that's fine. And we can go ahead and get started. So I started showing this slide last summer. And I like it just because I think everybody should kind of understand that while I would say probably most of you are figuring out that you want to get the CPA, what you do need to understand is that everybody's career path is going to be a little bit different. And it just means that career paths are going to be different depending on what you want to do. But one of the things that will definitely kind of set you apart is how you in the future will provide insights and deliver value through kind of your basic knowledge. And that's what a CPA does. They have that basic knowledge going into their career, and you learn how to become a CPA once you've started working and doing your job. So I show this slide. This happens to be a personal friend of mine, and I just really like her career path because it kind of shows that she's done a little bit of everything. She started to work for EY in the audit division when she graduated from school. She did that for 3 or 4 years and then decided that she wanted to leave public accounting and go into corporate world. So she went to work for Enterprise Rent-A-Car. And you know what? I was just gonna stop my video here for a second. Okay, so she went to work for Enterprise Rent-A-Car at their corporate office in Phoenix. She stayed there for a couple years, and then Enterprise came to her and said, would you go to Wichita, Kansas to open a corporate office there? She said yes. So she went ahead, moved to Wichita, Kansas. She was the controller there. She set up the whole office there. She transferred back to Arizona because that's where she's from. She had family here, and she stayed and worked for Enterprise for another couple of years. And then she decided she wanted to go do something else. So she went to work as a controller for a commercial real estate brokerage firm. And the person that owned this company also had a waste removal company. And so she managed all of the accounting for both of these companies. During this time, she also got a real estate license. And she also kept her CPA license up. So she was also a CPA. She managed some commercial buildings for a life insurance company, and then she decided she wanted to start a family. So she did that and decided that she was only going to work part-time for a small CPA firm. She did that for a few years while her children were small, and then she decided she wanted to go back out into the workforce full-time. And so she went to work for a 10-doctor OBGYN practice, and oversaw all of their accounting issues. At one point, they merged with another doctor's office, and they now had 22 providers in total. She oversees the accounting for all 5 of the office locations, and she also manages 2 of the the commercial medical offices that this practice owns. And so I just really like to show this because I think it's a great way to think about, what you can do with your CPA, and that, not everybody is going to stay in public accounting. I would say the majority of you will probably start there, and it is a great way to get that, baseline knowledge and to get that experience as you're first coming out of school. But you do have many options. So keep that in mind. All right, so let's take a look and let's see if my slide's going to advance for some reason. Okay, steps to becoming a CPA. We like to say 5 steps. First one is meet the educational requirements, which is what you all are doing right now. Step 2 is you're going to apply to take the CPA exam, and I'll show you how you do that. Once you've applied, then you'll start thinking about how you're going to study for the exam, and that is where Becker comes in. That's what we do. Step 4, you will receive your notice to schedule and then schedule your actual exams. Step 5, you will have taken all of the exams, pass them, and then you will obtain your work experience, and then you will apply for licensure. Now, what you need to know is that this whole process from step 1 to step 5 is that it's just a process, and you have to go through it logically, and it is going to take you a little bit of time, meaning it's probably going to take you 18 to 24 months, if not maybe a little bit longer, depending on where you are, say, in the educational requirements. So keep that in mind and just make sure that you're following the process. I've put up the link here too, so you all, if somebody joined late, can go ahead and sign on to Glisser, and that way you can answer the questions as we go. All right, so any questions about kind of the steps here to becoming a CPA? Okay, I don't hear any. Next question, what is your undergraduate university? So go ahead and put that in for me. I would appreciate it. So let's take a look at the educational requirements for New Mexico. To sit for the CPA exam, you have to have your bachelor's degree with 120 hours, and you have to have 30 hours in accounting And 3 of those 30 hours must be in business law. And then to become licensed is when you will have to have the 150 hours, 30 hours in accounting, and then the 3 in business law. And then you will also have to have the 1 year of work experience and the AI CPA ethics exam. And you really don't need to worry about this ethics exam. It's an online, open book test. So that isn't anything that you need to worry about there. So when we look at the New Mexico application process, here's what you need to do. You will submit your application and fees and your transcripts to NASBA. And this is where you can look at this application process and the link for it. When you do that, you will send in $180 for your application fee. And when you're sending in your transcripts, you need to send in transcripts from any university that you attended that you are using towards those hours. So if you happen to go to a community college before going to UNM, even if those hours are on your UNM transcript, you still need to go back to that college and send those in. The exam fee is per exam, $226.15 per test. As you see here, you will pay the application fee of $180 and then $226.15 per test. When you do a re-exam, you get a little bit of a break on the fee. You'll just have to pay a registration fee, but the same for the test fee. Once you submit your application to NASBA, they will look through everything. If everything looks good, then they will electronically submit something called an authorization to test. And what that will do is it's telling NASBA, hey, this person is good to go, they can test. Once they have that, then they will send you something called your notice to schedule. And that notice to schedule is good for 6 months. And that is where it is telling you, okay, you have these 6 months to take whatever test that you went ahead and applied for. Once you have that notice to schedule, then you will go to the Prometric website and go ahead and schedule your test. You have 3 testing centers in New Mexico. You've got one in Albuquerque, one in Santa Fe, and one in Las Cruces. You can take them at whichever one you want. That's completely up to you. You will take your test, and then you will have to wait to find out your score. You do not find out the day you take your test. On the NASBA website, there is a schedule of when the scores are released. So you can always go on there and find that out, but you do have to wait a little while. One of the things too we tell you is when you are doing your first application, we would suggest that you not sign up to take all 4 exams the very first time. And that just means because if you pay for all 4 exams and then you don't take those exams within that notice to schedule, that 6-month period, you're going to lose that money. And so we suggest that you only apply for 2 tests under a notice to schedule, and then when you're ready to take the other 2 tests, you'll just do a reapplication and you'll get another notice to schedule. Okay, I'm going to stop there and let me check in the chat here if somebody wants to tell me if there's any questions. I don't see anything. Oh, it said working on the microphone. All right. Anybody want to come off mute and have any questions for me? No questions? All right. I will take that as a good sign. Let's see if we can advance the slide. Okay, when you apply to sit, you need to decide under what jurisdiction you are going to sit under. There are 55, all of the US states, Guam. You can see here from this slide that New Mexico happens to be a state that uses NASBA for their online application system. So you need to be aware of that. If you're in one of the yellow states, or you think you're going to sit under the rules of one of the other states, then those states use their Board of Accountancy. We suggest that you apply under the state where you think that you are first going to be working. So if you are from New Mexico and you are going to stay in New Mexico, then you can go ahead and do that. If you are from Colorado and you know you want to go back to Colorado when you're first working, then go ahead and sit under the Colorado requirements. That's completely up to you. Just understand that every state's rules are a little bit different. And so that's something that you will have to figure out as you are applying. Now, once you've applied, we talked about creating a study plan, and that's where Becker comes in. We give you a study plan built in our course. And so what we want you to do is we want you to pick a section. We're going to ask you how many hours a week you're going to study, how many sections you're going to study, when your test is, and then we will go ahead and figure out what you need to do each week. Now, one of the things that we also suggest is when you are making that test date, that you try to make that test date at least 45 days in advance. That way you're getting the test day that you want and time. And so also that's helpful because then you can go ahead and make your study schedule and you're working towards that date. So just a little tip there. Now, once you have your, you've put in your application, we were talking that then you have to wait for your notice to schedule or your NTS. And so you can see here, New Mexico is one of the states that their NTS is good for 6 months. This is what your NTS actually looks like. It will give you the exam section. It will give you an ID. It will give you a launch code. So you have to take this notice to schedule to the Prometrics test site when you go to take your test, because you have to have this code. And then it will also tell you here when you can first take this test and what is the last day you can take this test. And it will be that 6-month period for New Mexico. So as I said before, super important. You're waiting to get this. That's what's going to tell you you're ready to, go on to the website and start scheduling your test. All right, so another question here, in which state do you plan to receive your license? So what state are you going to be sitting under? So please go ahead and fill that out if you would. I would appreciate it. All right, scheduling your exam. As I said before, you do that through Prometrics. One of the things you should understand is that Prometrics does all kinds of different testing. And so you should be aware that sometimes days do fill up and possibly times. So when we're suggesting that you make that, test 45 days out, just kind of keep that in mind, that they can, be full. So you just want to make sure that you're making that plan in place. All right, when do you plan to review for the CPA exam? You've got a couple of choices there. If you would just go ahead and fill that out, that would be helpful. All right, so I'm going to stop there and just see if anyone has any questions in regards to applying for the exam or anything to do with the notice to schedule or maybe any other states or anything. I'll just see if there's anything here in the chats. All right, so I see here, what is the process like if I sit under one state and then move to another in the future? All right, so let me ask you this. Are you saying if you sit and completely become a CPA and then move to another? Is that what you're asking? Is it Tanila?
Hi, yes, it's Daniela.
Tanelia.
Um,
Okay, sorry.
no, you're fine, don't worry. Yeah, so like if I fully become a CPA in like let's say here in New Mexico, and then in the future I wanted to move to like, I don't know, Colorado, for
Sure.
example, what would that process be like?
Yeah. So what it is if you move to Colorado and then you go to Colorado and say, hey, I have been a working CPA in New Mexico, here's my license, they will look at it. You would go through their, license renewal, getting your license there, and then you would become a licensed CPA there. Also understand you can have license in more than one state if you want, but it will cost you because you have to pay for the license in each state. So yeah, don't worry about, moving your CPA license. That's, you're not going to have to go back and ever take the CPA test again.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
Sure. All right, so it looks like they're asking how soon from being eligible to sit can one receive an NTS, an estimated time frame? Okay, so so if we're talking about the application process, when you go to the NASBA website, and you know what, let me see if it will let me click over here. Oh, it did. Okay. When you go to the NASBA website, and I'll just pull this up, due to COVID pandemic, about 8 weeks for the application materials once they've been received to receive your notice to schedule. So that's coming from NASBA, and that's who New Mexico goes through. So yeah, I would say you're probably looking at 8 weeks or so. It could be a little bit sooner, but just kind of keep that in mind. So usually what happens is candidates will go ahead, fill out the information, get their application in, and then start reviewing for the test while they're waiting to get their notice to schedule. And so if you are a candidate that has, all of your schooling is here in the United States and it's from, UNM, then there shouldn't be any problem with your application. If you happen to be a candidate who maybe has some international credits, then that's going to take a little bit longer and something that you would need to work through. All right, so great questions. I don't see any new ones here, so we will go ahead and move on. So let's take a look at how the exam is actually laid out currently. There are 4 sections to the CPA exam. You've got financial, you have audit, you have regulation, and business. Each exam is 4 hours long. You will receive a passing score of 75 or higher. You can take it in any state or jurisdiction. What that means is if by chance, you're from Colorado, but you're going to school in New Mexico and you want to sit under Colorado requirements, you can go ahead and do that. And you could even physically take the test in New Mexico. You would just be sitting under Colorado requirements. So be aware of that. And then you have 18 months to pass all 4 parts. And how that works is if you take a test on May 1st, and then you find out June 14th that you passed your first test that you took on May 1st, your 18 months starts from May 1st. You then have 18 months from them to pass the other 3 sections. If you don't pass all 4 sections within that time, you'll lose the credit for that very first exam, and your 18 months rolls to the second test that you pass. So you really do need to, when you're planning for the CPA exam, you need to look at it big picture, like 18 to 24 months. You know, how am I going to go through this and get the studying in and taking the test? So be aware of that, that you really do need to look at it big picture wise. Now, the sections or the exams are laid out the same in that there are 5 testlets. The first 2 testlets will be multiple choice questions. The 3rd, 4th, and 5th testlets will also be or will be task-based simulations. That's what TBS stands for. And in the BEC or business section, there will be written communication tasks. Now, we said you have 4 hours for each one of the exams. You can take 1 off-the-clock break in between testlet 3 and 4, and that's a 15-minute break that they give you. A screen will come up, and then it will ask you if you want to take a break. You can say yes. I would say most people are going to do that. Take the break. You can get up, you know, go use the restroom, grab a quick snack, come back in. Now, you can take breaks in between the other testlets, but the time will not stop. So time management is very, very important on the exam. And the other thing is it is up to you to decide how you spend the 4 hours. But what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure that you get through these multiple choice question testlets quickly enough to leave yourself time for these task-based simulations, because the task-based simulations do take much longer. So, excuse me. So you're usually going to be answering the multiple choice questions probably every 1.5 to 2 minutes. That's about how much time we say you could spend on each one. That way it will leave you about 15 to 20 minutes per task when you get to those testlets. All right, so let's take a look. See if it will advance. There we go. Oops, now it went too far. All right, so let's take a look at each of the exam and the structure of it. We'll start with financial. That tends to be the test that most candidates feel is probably the hardest. And that's just because it covers a lot of information. You'll see here conceptual framework of reporting, select financial statements, accounts, select transactions, state and local government will come in there. Your foundational classes will be your intermediate and advanced accounting courses. And we say probably 130 to 150 hours of study time for the financial section. And you'll see here, financial has 66 multiple choice questions. So approximately you're going to spend about 90 minutes on there, and 8 task-based simulations. So you just want to make sure that you're going through, like I said, those multiple choice questions quickly enough. The next exam we'll look at is audit, and it is just that, everything to do with an audit, along with ethics and professional responsibilities. So you can see over here, you'll be forming conclusions and reporting, assessing risk, and developing a planned response. Foundational classes are going to be those auditing and advanced auditing classes. 80 to 100 hours of study time for the audit section, and 72 multiple choice questions with 8 task-based simulations. The next section, or the next exam, will be regulation, and it is everything to do with tax, along with, here's your business law that you have to take, and ethics, professional responsibilities. And it is all federal tax, so there's no state or local tax. So federal tax, foundational classes are going to be those federal tax classes and the business law classes. 100 to 120 hours of study time for regulation. and 76 multiple choice questions with 8 task-based simulations. And then the last exam is business or BEC, and it covers a little bit of everything. So you've got corporate governance, you've got economic concepts and analysis, you've got information technologies, operations management. Foundational classes here are going to be those cost and management accounting classes, along with your econ and information systems. 80 to 100 hours of study time. Now here's where BEC is different. You have 62 multiple choice questions. You only have 4 task-based simulations, and then you have 3 written communication tasks. Now, a written communication task might be they are asking you to write a memo to a client in regards to raising capital or something. So they want to see that you can communicate in a business-like fashion, that you have correct grammar, that you have correct punctuation and spelling. They do not want to see bullet points. They do not want to see abbreviations. So I will stop there for a second and see if anyone has any questions in regards to the exam and the structure of it right now. Let me just go up here. I don't see anything in the chat, but if anybody wants to take themselves off of mute, you can do that. All right, I don't hear anything, so we will move on. I'm going to talk a little bit about the evolution of the CPA exam. So it is coming. Hopefully you all have kind of heard about this. It will affect anyone who is, say, probably a junior right now. So what came about is that those in industry, meaning CPA firms, government, universities, were noticing that new CPAs are doing a lot of rapidly changing skills and competencies when they first start practicing. And so they knew that the CPA exam needed to reflect all of those new skills. So they spent the last couple of years looking at it, trying to decide how they were going to change the CPA exam to reflect that. And they came up with this. They are going to have proposed core exams, and then you will have a disciplined specialization exam. So you'll see here the way it's going to be laid out is you will have your core exams in accounting, audit, and then tax. So this would be like FAR, audit, and reg. And within all of those, there is going to be much more information, much more questions in regards to technology. So that's going to be more in those core exams. Everyone will take the core exams, and then a candidate would then choose one of these specialized exams to take. You'll have business reporting and analysis, tax compliance and planning, information systems and controls. All disciplines lead to full licensure, so everybody will be a CPA. And it doesn't mean that if you took your specialized exam in tax compliance and planning, that you can't, work in business reporting or some type of analysis. Does not mean that. The timeline for this is that the new exam will be launching January 1 of 2024. So as I said before, depending on where you are in regards to your education, this might affect you. Now, something that did just come out within the last month is their transition policy. And so everybody was wanting to know, well, what's going to happen if I'm taking tests in 2023 and then 2024 comes and we have the new tests. So here's what's going to happen. If you have passed these current exams, whether it's the audit, the FAR, or the reg, those will go ahead and correspond with these core courses: the auditing and attestation, financial accounting, reporting, and the tax and regulation. So if you've taken those, you wouldn't have to take those on the new exam. How they are going to handle these more specialized exams is that if you have passed BEC before January 1, 2024, you will not have to take a specialized exam. You would be exempt from that because you've already passed this BEC part. So that's something to keep in mind. So what we are suggesting is if you know you are going to be one of those candidates who is going to be within this transition period, it would be probably beneficial to you to go ahead and try and pass BEC before January 1, because then you would only have, whatever you have left in these core exams. And understand these, because these are specialized exams, these are probably going to be a little harder subjects just because they are specialized. So, you want to keep that in mind. They will still have the 18-month rule that will remain in effect. And once January 1, 2024 comes about, you will not be able to take any of the old exams. You will only be offered the new exams. So that's something that all of you should understand if you think it's going to affect you. All right, so I'm going to stop here and just see if anyone has any questions in regards to the new exam and the transition policy or anything. I'm not hearing anything. Let me just double check. All right. All right, then we will move on. Just a question here, when will you graduate? Again, if you all don't mind answering those questions, so that way I can go ahead and send you the specific information for New Mexico and some other information. A little bit about Becker, in case you don't know. We have been in the CPA exam prep business for over 60 years. All of the top 100 accounting firms partner with Becker to get their staff prepared for the CPA exam and get them through. So we think we, like to have everybody understand that, yes, the firms use us. We give you a few flexible learning options. You've got self-study. We offer some live online courses, and those are nice for those candidates who want a little more structure to their studying time. If you do a live online course, you're actually assigned a start and stop date. You meet on Monday and Wednesday evenings on something, like Zoom or Teams meeting or something like that. You're watching a live instructor, you're going through material, you can ask questions. So you do have some flexibility there. You can also use our Becker materials on any mobile device, whether that's your laptop or your iPad, anything like that. We have something now that is called Exam Day Ready, and that's just a way to help you really acquire that foundational knowledge and make sure that you're going through the material and really making sure that you're exam day ready, making sure that you've gone through this material. So we ask you, excuse me, my voice is kind of going. So what we ask you to do is we want you to watch 80% of the lecture and answer 80% of the practice questions. And then we also want you to score 50% on our mini exams and our simulated exams. And that way you're making sure that you're going through the material, because one of the things is that candidates have to understand that this isn't something that you can do quickly. It's going to take you some time. I know, I kind of talked about it in regards to, how much time is it going to take you for each section, 120 hours or so, 130 hours. And so while you're doing this, we are trying to give you those those options that will help you, and those kind of study tools to be successful on the exam, because you can do this, but you just have to make sure that you're doing the work and getting through the info. If you have not been to our Becker website, you can go to becker.com, sign up for a 14-day demo. We'll let you use a little bit of lectures from each section. You'll have skills practice, task-based simulations, multiple choice questions, study planner, everything that kind of shows you how we go about and do this information, go through this material. If there is anybody out there that's ready to register, you can contact Aaron Smith. He's a person that works for our team in the West. He can help get you registered, and you are he can get you, any discounts that are available and stuff. If you would like anybody to contact you, you could go ahead and put that in there. This is my contact information. And oops, let me just move this over to the side. If you have any questions, you are more than welcome to go ahead and reach out to me, and I'm happy to talk through your plan. Now, we're not quite done here. So, okay, so Benny asked, with the changes to the test, are the study hours anticipated to be the same? They haven't talked about it, but I wouldn't think that they're going to be a lot longer. I mean, it's already, it's already a heavy lift to study for the exam and take it, with each exam being 4 hours. So it's just going to be different information. And so what will happen is I believe at some point this summer, they, meaning the AICPA and NASBA, will release something called the blueprint for the exam. And what that will do is it will then lay out exactly what they're going to be asking, what topics and what percentages within each one of the separate exams. And so that's how review providers build their review course. So that happens this summer. And then what will happen is Becker will have all of their material for the new exam in place by June of 2023. And so that way, if people are going to be studying for the old exam, but then also studying for the new exam, they will always have available that information. So everybody will have that, and we'll be good to go there. But good question, Benny. I would say it's probably going to stay roughly the same or so. All right, what other questions can I answer for you? You can take yourself off mute. All right, I don't hear any, but I did want to check. So I have 2 campus ambassadors at UNM, Isaac Buck and Jing Qing. And Isaac is currently going through the CPA and studying. Okay, terrific. So they are both there. And so what I wanted to do was actually ask them just a couple of questions, and I will stop sharing my screen and then just take off my video, start my video. So what I thought might be helpful is just to ask Isaac and Jean some questions about their process. Hi guys.
Hello.
Their kind of process in sitting for the exam. So I know, so Isaac, you have taken a couple of tests, I believe. And so could you tell us what your your application process was like and how long it took?
So right now, I was doing it through Texas, and so that's not the national board, right? Texas has their own board.
Yes,
to work
Texas
with.
has their own board.
So that was the fun part of working with them. But the staff there were actually very responsive and friendly, so it went by pretty fast. And so actually I sit for it this summer, but I've been studying for the last week or two. And it's been
Okay.
quite a smooth process. The Becker material is actually really user friendly.
Oh, good.
So I've been enjoying that quite a bit.
Well, that's good to hear. And that's kind of, it's a great point too. I know I said before, every state's different. So you do have to figure out what the process is for whatever state you're sitting under. I will tell you, Texas tends to be the one that is the most, what do I want to say, intricate. You have to fill out an application before you actually apply and kind of go through that. So yeah, you definitely will want to make sure that you kind of know what that process is for that state and how long it takes. I know in the state that I live in Arizona, they go through their state board of accountancy, and they will usually say that it takes anywhere between 6 and 8 weeks. And some of that is because with their application process, a committee has to look at it, and then a board has to look at it. So depending on where you are in the month and when they receive your application, it could make it, where somebody doesn't look at it for a month, and so you have to wait. So yeah, so definitely be aware of that. And Jing, so I know you just filled out your application, and you have some international classes. So how was the website, and did you sit or apply under New Mexico?
Yeah, actually, I'm going to sit for the exam in New Mexico, but
Okay.
then later I would probably consider transfer it to Colorado.
Okay.
Because New Mexico has less the business course requirements.
Okay.
Yeah, and Colorado requires extra business classes, which I don't have right now, but I choose to sit for the exam first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. And also understand too that the requirements in each state can be different for what you have to sit, and then what you have to become licensed. So you need to make sure that you're covering those both. So Isaac, I'll ask you, what does your so you said you're starting to study. What is your study schedule now? Because I know you're also working part-time, correct?
Yeah, so the plan is 13, I think. Yes, so when I started the Becker assignment, it was like 13 to 15 hours a week plan. So that's about 1 to 1.5 units a week of FAR, for example. And you do that, there's, I want to say, about 8 large units. So it should take me about 2 to 2.5 months to take one exam at a part-time status study.
Right.
And that's, I think, pretty reasonable, especially with a lot of time on the weekends to study.
Right. Yeah. So are you thinking that you're going to try to do it a little bit each day, or are you thinking that you're going to do your bulk of it on the weekends? I know everybody's a little different, and so that's kind of where you have to figure out that sweet spot as to, how it works for you.
Yeah, so lately I've been doing about 1 to 2 hours a day, and each day is different due to requirement of classes and different projects that come up.
Right.
But I try and do 1 to 2 hours a day. But if I don't do it, I don't hate myself. I just wait until the weekend to fill in that hour or two.
Good. Yeah, it's and really that's too, I think one of the big things is that everybody kind of has to figure out how they study best. There might be people that, hey, I want to get up a half hour early and do a half hour of studying, and then maybe do something on lunch, or do something at night when I get home. So you can definitely do that. So we talked about your study schedule. Do you is financial going to be your first test that you take?
Yeah, so
Okay.
I'm actually taking another class. It's another CPA review, just to get a gist of the program. And so we studied FAR. So I was like, well, I already hit FAR a little bit this semester.
Yep.
Might as well, while it's in my head, study for that one first officially through Becker.
Yeah, and that totally makes sense. You know, if there is a class that you're taking, say, you know, as you're going through your master's program, if you're going through that, then yeah, you might as well go ahead and, you know, try to link those classes
Yeah.
up. I know at the University of Arizona, where I do a lot, in their master's program, they have an audit class the very first semester in their masters. And so sometimes students will say, okay, well, if I have that audit class, then I'm going to go ahead and study for audit and, you know, study for it right after I take this class, and then try to take that test. But it's completely up to you. It's up to you, whatever order you want to take it. But one of the things I would say is, if you are going to be one of those candidates who might be on that transition period, you should definitely think about taking that, you know, BEC section before January 1. So that's something that might come into play. All right, so I'm going to open it up to questions to see if anybody has any questions for either Isaac or Jing, just anything that you want to ask them about their process or something that they've done, or if you just have any questions in general.
I guess while we're waiting for questions, I have one comment.
Sure. Yeah.
I think if any students who's going into the grad program, I guess any grad program, but specifically UNM, there are good ways to plan your classes around CPA studying. But let's say one semester you want to take financial accounting 3 and non-for-profit accounting. You get those done while you're studying for FAR. Your life's going to be so much better for the class. Your grade's going to be better because you're studying for FAR. Your FAR is going to be better because you're studying it in class. There's a lot of planning you could do around your schedule to hit the CPA.
Yeah, that's a great point. And you kind of just, I mean, I think if you are one of those people that's going to be studying while you are in school, you just kind of have to figure it's another class that you're taking. And you might as well go ahead and start studying as soon as possible. I mean, if you can't do it in school, you know, people understand, but try to do it as soon as possible once you've graduated, because that is one of the things that the firms really hope is that you have at least started the CPA exam process, meaning maybe you've taken 1 or 2 sections before you start work. And if that happens to be, you know, maybe you're starting work in the fall, or maybe, you know, in the late summer. It's beneficial to you to try to do that, and then it's beneficial for them because that just helps them. They want you to pass as soon as possible. And it's not, I know it always sounds like a lot, but you know, we understand that you're busy when you're in school, and I'm sure the majority of you are working while you're in school, but you're not going to you won't be less busy once school's done and you're working. So you need to go ahead and like I said, kind of have a plan there. So Isaac or Jing, is there anything else you wanted to share with anybody?
Yeah, I'm not sure if there are any international students who have education outside US, but actually for me, I went a long period to get my education credentials to be evaluated, and actually it takes me like the entire process before I was able to submit my application, my first time application. It took me like more than half a year. So actually I would say that if you have education outside US, you need to plan like even earlier.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a good reminder. And when you do, if you're applying through New Mexico, and you go to the New Mexico page on the NASPA website, there you will see that they have some information for students that have education outside of the United States. And so, as Jing was saying, there's a whole process, because what they're actually doing is they actually look at your foreign transcript, and then they have to say, okay, this class goes to this, here's how many hours you have, and you have to pay to have that done, correct, Jing?
Yeah, it takes like another probably 500
Yeah.
in total.
Right. Yeah. So there's definitely a fee. So if you are an international student, that is something that you need to make sure that you're taking into account if you're going to be using those transcripts, those hours towards your application. All right, great information. All right, so I'm just going to ask for any last questions, see if anybody has anything they wanted to bring up. I'll give it a few seconds here. It's been great questions so far. We appreciate you all putting them in there, and I hope we've been helpful. I don't see any popping up over here. All right. Then if there are no last questions, I will just say thank you again for joining us. I appreciate it. I hope you all got some information that is helpful as you're going through this process of working towards a CPA. Hopefully you got my contact information. If not, Kelly has it, or you can, contact Isaac or Jing. They both have my contact information. So I am happy to answer any questions, talk to you about, what Becker does, talk to you about, how you're thinking schedule-wise or something, and happy to, just talk that through with you. So I hope you all have a great night, and hopefully you all will have a good end of year. Hope your finals go well. I'm just looking through here. You're welcome. Hope you guys enjoyed the tips and stuff. And if you have any questions, like I said, feel free and reach out to me. So thank you, everybody. And I appreciate BAP for letting me come and talk and setting this up. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you for coming out and talking to us.
Sure. And hopefully in the fall, I will be there in person.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
You're welcome.